Welcome to the College Basketball Net Profit Show, Pub Sports Radio, Tuesday, March 14th. Ian Cameron, Conor Mack back after a one-day hiatus. No games yesterday, so obviously we didn't have a show, but we are back today because college basketball is back after a one-day break. We've got the NIT tournament. Don't sleep on that. I know everyone's excited about the NCAA tournament, obviously. It's the big main event, but don't sleep on the NIT tournament. There's good bets, there's good matchups, and there's good money to be made there. So we will break down the NIT tournament, as well as, of course, the NCAA tournament. And yes, we want to remind everybody, too, the Bracket Challenge. Sign up for it, Pub Sports Radio's Bracket Challenge. Make sure you get in on that. Check it out at pubsportsradio.com. Top 3, get the money. Again, if you have questions, pubsportsradio@gmail.com. Join the March Madness Bracket Challenge, Pub Sports Radio's own. Get in on the fun for the NCAA tournament. All right, let's get into the games tonight. We'll start with the NIT. We're going to do the NIT first. We're going to save the best for last. Vanessa Williams would want it that way. NIT tournament, we've got Eastern Washington and Washington State. Washington State, 10.5-point favorites, 147 the total here in this game. This is a late game, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. So when everything's over, including the first 4, this is the game you watch essentially tonight. Seton All Colorado is a late game too, I should say, but I like EWU here. I know Eastern Washington might be, in shell shock, but they've had enough time. The Big Sky tournament was over a week ago. I know they were stunned early in that tournament by Northern Arizona, and there's always that element of, is this team disappointed that they didn't win the Big Sky? They've had enough time to basically lick their wounds and I think collect themselves here. And they're getting a good number. It's still a team that's kind of like a big brother in-state team, Washington State. So I think it gets Eastern Washington fired up for this game. And with their ability to make shots, they're always interesting proposition to me here, getting 10.5. To me, I don't know if there's going to be a great home environment here for Washington State, playing in the NIT. That's another thing that concerns you a little bit. These home courts, I don't know if they're going to be necessarily all that strong here for these NIT tournament games. But I like the idea of getting 10.5 here with Eastern Washington. Washington State, not exactly a consistent team laying bigger numbers this year either. What do you think here, Conor, with this battle of the state of Washington?
Yeah, and they played earlier this year, 82-56, and that was when Eastern Washington kind of got beat up. Non-conference play, they weren't very good, a little bit lower scoring, and then they play well in conference and then kind of limp here. But everything I've heard of, and this is where you need to do some digging, is how these teams are motivated. And from
Psychology.
Everything I hear from Eastern is that they're pumped to, they want to beat Washington State. They're a little bit pissed.
Play better than the first time, exactly.
Yeah, they were horrible down the stretch, and Northern Arizona was red hot and beat them by 1. It's not like they just laid a freaking horrible egg and lost by 10 in that game. So I like the points here as well. Eastern Washington more over, but I think the total is too high. Me with Washington State totals, I've been on unders all year. I think this could just be a bit out there. But one thing with Wazoo, they played well until the final 3.5 minutes against Oregon, where they couldn't couldn't score, period, and lost 75-70. They had ripped off 7 straight wins. So I think they're a little bit confident. I just think it's too many. I agree with you. I'll take the 10.5, and I might be on the under as well.
All right. Yeah. Now, the NIT tournament and the other minor tournament, the CBI, which starts on Saturday, they have a history in the first games of being high scoring, and then it tightens up and it gets more lower scoring as the tournament goes on. The games get more important. But this one does feel like Washington State's not going to want to run up and down the court. Eastern does, but you don't have the other team wanting to join in. So, again, historically, the first game of the NIT and the CBI for all these teams has been over, but it doesn't mean you have to think that way with every game. You still have to.
Oh, yeah. There's some overs tonight.
I think there are. There are some games I like over, but you're right. I'm not overly enthused about this over or this next game either when it comes to the over. Bradley and Wisconsin. We've got Wisconsin 3-point favorites, 127. Now, the case you can make for the over is maybe these are two teams that even though they struggle offensively, the defense just, loosens up because it's not, it's an NIT tournament here. But I don't know if I trust either offense. It's 127 for a reason. They're not great offensive teams, either one. I like Bradley here a little bit, too. Bradley, I know, got beat by Drake in the Missouri Valley Championship game, but just like what I said with Eastern Washington, they've had enough time now to get over it. That was over a week ago. That was 8 days ago when they lost that game. 9 days ago when they lost to Drake in the Missouri Valley Championship game. I think they shake it off. I think a lot, and I've been punished in the past by just blindly saying, oh, this team lost in the championship game or they just fell short and let's bet against them. And when actually they have shown up and they've been ready to go, they've wiped the slate clean. They're ready to play good basketball again. And I think Bradley is going to give a good effort tonight. I think I'm more concerned about Wisconsin in that department. Wisconsin, I don't know if they really believed they were going to get in, but they were on the fringe of the bubble. I was pretty sure they weren't going to get in, and of course they didn't. But maybe they thought maybe they still had a puncher's chance. Either way, laying points with them, no thank you. I think Bradley's fired up. Bradley plus the points for me. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, we'll see with Bradley. After just getting blown out, they kind of turned the corner, they were great in conference play. One thing with Bradley has got me over the years. They're catching points here. When they step up, it's just not been good for them. And earlier non-conference play, whether it's Utah State, Auburn. I mean, do you put Wisconsin that high? Obviously, they're not going to score a ton. Arkansas, they lost by 20. All those teams, they lost by 20. I think the line's appropriate here at 3. I just look under 2 slow teams, unless they're kind of not into it, like you were talking about, Ivano, and maybe, there's some scoring, but good defenses. To me, this is under or nothing.
All right, under or nothing. I agree. All right, next up, Villanova, Liberty. Liberty's taking a huge amount of money here, 1.5 up to 4, 136 the total. I totally agree with it. I can't imagine for the life. This is one team you really have to be concerned about where their heads are at. Villanova's not used to this shit. Being here in the NIT tournament. This is rare air for them. When's the last time we've heard about Villanova not being in the NCAA tournament? I have real motivational concerns here about the Villanova Wildcats tonight. And meanwhile, Liberty, a team that again got beaten in their conference championship game by Kennesaw State. They ended up falling short in the Atlantic Sun Championship, but they've had a week now. That was 9 days ago on a Sunday afternoon. They lost that game. They've had time to get their shit together and collect themselves and say, hey, that's disappointing, but now we can go in the NIT. And we get to host Villanova. I think that pumps them up again, and it gets a little ambiance going on campus there at Liberty. That you got the mighty Villanova Wildcats coming in for a rare chance to host them on your campus. So I think Liberty's pumped. And when Liberty's fired up, and which I think they will be, they're a very good basketball team. They've shown it now in multiple years. Some teams are going to get frustrated playing Villanova's pace, not Liberty, because they play that same damn pace. They're going to want to slow it down, play in the half court here in this game. Although they have played some overs because their offense, I think, is a little bit more potent than people think. But I like Liberty here. It's really gotten away a little bit. I do agree with that because I got a minus 140 with them on the money line. The money line's now minus 180, so be careful now. But there's no way I want any part of Villanova here. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, it's just tough for me with Whitmore in this one. Dixon's still there. Daniels, can that be enough now at 4 points? With just
you got guys sitting
Villanova.
Tells you, I think, where they're at with this game, where their heads are at anyway.
I know it's just now. If you got Liberty early,
yeah,
maybe, but I don't really trust this team. Obviously, I think McGee's really, really good. You mentioned it. I looked at this total. I leaned under. You talked about how slow the paces are. But, Liberty, towards the end there, you mentioned it, the defense wasn't so tight, how great they were earlier. And when we looked non-conference with them, a couple of these bigger teams, they got blown out. Nova, not on the level of Bama or some of those teams. They should be excited. But how excited is Liberty, too? They are at home here, but they want to be in this turn. That's a couple years now where they didn't get in after another really, really good year. Just tough for me. Just on Villanova's name, is 4 enough here without those guys? AB, this is one I'd like to watch, though, a little bit, see where their head's at, maybe bet live.
All right. Yeah, exactly. Maybe live bet if you didn't get the best number on Liberty, or, wait to see how Villanova responds. Maybe you do bet them if they show you something, but I have my doubts. I really do in this game of what we're going to get from this Villanova team. Same thing with Rutgers. Who are laying 5.5 here against Hofstra, 139 the total. I like the total move up. Hofstra, I think, is going to they don't want to play in the half court. They do not want to face Rutgers in the half court defense. and Hofstra's going to want to set things up and get transition buckets going before that Rutgers defense sets up. I think they're going to try to push at every reasonable opportunity. Rutgers, a team that thought maybe they had a puncher's chance to get into the tournament still, despite an up and down season, but they fell short, and you got to wonder how happy and satisfied they are here in this first NIT tournament game. The way it works is once you win that first NIT tournament game, then the disappointment fades. Then you're like, all right, we won the first game. Now we're going to care a bit about it and try to win as many as we can. But that first game, it can be difficult, and it might be difficult for Rutgers. I think for Hofstra, they come in here with a point to prove. You're talking about Hempstead, New York, versus New Jersey. You've got that little New York, New Jersey battle thing going here in this game as well. I like Hofstra plus the points, but a lot of people do because it's been bet down from 7.5 to 5.5. But I like the Hofstra side. They've certainly got the offensive potency to test this Rutgers team with the likes of course, Tyler Thomas, Waquan Carlos, of course, Aaron Estrada goes without saying how good he's been all year for Hofstra. But to me, in this matchup, it's Hofstra for me with the points. And I think the total's going in the right direction as well. What do you think here, Connor?
Real quick on the total, it might have gone in the right directions, but I don't know if this is too high. We'll see. Just Rutgers. I want under with them at home. Even, with Mag out, I still think they play great team defense in this one. I think it's gone too far. But maybe this is the situation we were talking about where there's not a lot of care, like you mentioned earlier, in a game like this.
That's the key to my thinking with the over, Connor, is that Rutgers is a little flat, a little down in the dumps, and you're not going to bring the defensive intensity when that's the case. At least that's my thinking.
Yeah, I get it, but it's moved 5 points now to 140. I even look first half here. Hofstra had a pretty good defense, this year. We'll see how that matches up. We know how Rutgers is. I like the under in this game. Even the first half, which I believe is 65.5. I'm going to have to double check that. But yeah, that's where I'm looking at this one. If you got Hofstra 7.5, because they are deadly, like you talked about with the Strata, and how much Rutgers into it. They are at home at the rack where we like them, but a team that's not great scoring it, laying 5.5 here. So, but I'm looking under a little bit now.
All right. So, all right. Good stuff indeed. All right. Next up, we've got Seton Hall and Colorado. Colorado 4-point favorites, 135 being the total in this game. I was surprised the number was this short. This is not a good scheduling spot, travel spot, and who knows where they're going to be at Seton Hall. And they weren't even playing that great down the stretch. And now they got to make the trip to Boulder, Colorado, and just find out Sunday night that they're going to Colorado, and they got to turn around, play Tuesday. What a tough trip this is from New Jersey all the way to Denver and Colorado. Or Boulder rather, and Colorado's just sitting there. And Colorado, of course, as we know, has been better all year at home, 12-4 straight up on their home floor. They come off a hard-fought but tough loss to UCLA. They actually hung in that game most of the way. I actually like the way they played down the stretch. Most of their losses were competitive. They almost beat UCLA in this building, of course, 60-56 back on February the 26th. I think when you look at this matchup, yeah, Seton Hall does have some seniors with Amir Dawes and Dre Davis. There's no question about that. But Tristan Da Silva, absolutely outstanding score for Colorado, and KJ Simpson. They're just sitting there waiting for Seton Hall. I think certainly situationally, you got to like Colorado here, -4. It just feels like it's a little short. Tough spot for Seton Hall. What do you think here, Connor?
It is. And to go to Colorado, like if you have real faith in Colorado, I think this, at home, they take care of business. But I haven't trusted them all year. Usually it's the automatic fate on the road. And they still were all right at home, but they weren't as good as usual. This team just wasn't that great. They showed flashes, and other times it looked horrible. I just didn't want this at all. I think the line's probably right, and I'd look under Seton Hall, in this one if I had to.
Yeah, I would agree with that. This is one I'd probably lean under as well. Yale and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt 3.5 point favorites, 146 the total in this game. I like Vandy here. This is one where, Vandy, this could be on paper one of those teams that's quote unquote disappointed. I don't think so. I think it was a long shot for them to get in the tournament. The only reason they were in, the mix to maybe get in late was that late season surge they had down the stretch, Vanderbilt. But I think if you're Vanderbilt, especially because Jerry has a young team, Jerry Stackhouse, that is, very young team at his disposal. It's like, you know what? kind of disappointed that we miss the NCAA tournament, sure, but let's go out there, because if they are interested and they're locked into this tournament, they could win this tournament, Vanderbilt. That's how well they played down the stretch. They really could. It would not shock me to see them take this opportunity and run with it here in the NIT. And after what I saw from Yale against Princeton, I mean, what a horrible offensive game that was for them. I don't know if their offense is going to work here on the road against this Vandy team, which did play better defense down the stretch during their late season surge. I like it here. Vanderbilt laying the 3.5. I'm on the Commodores here. What do you think, C-Mac?
Yeah, Yale with the disappointing loss. It was at Princeton, but the offense just didn't work, like you mentioned. 74-65. They covered against, what was it, Kentucky? Remember those few games in non-conference Yale did bigger numbers. Do you trust them enough for the 3.5 and the quick turnaround, like a bunch of these games with some of these teams?
That's true. Their conference championship was this past Sunday, Connor, the Ivy League, not like, Bradley or some of these other teams. Yeah. It was previous Sunday where they played.
Yeah, they didn't get like 4 days off. It wasn't like on Thursday or anything like that. So I like Vandy too. They were just shooting it crazy. They ran out of gas, obviously, in the last game. But, we talked beating Kentucky, Tennessee, but like they beat down Florida at home, Auburn. I like Vandy too, a little bit. They've just, 5-0 last 5 at home. They've been great off a loss. Yada, yada, yada. I'm leaning Vandy as well.
Yep, I like Vandy here. It's definitely, of all the sides tonight, this is one of my favorites on the NIT board for sure. Same with this next game, but a lot of people like it. It's a popular dog. Hopefully that's not a bad thing. Toledo and Michigan. We've got Michigan 6.5 point favorites, 163 the total. Yeah, now Toledo just lost to Kent State Saturday. Disappointment. No, but this is disappointment versus disappointment. Michigan's just as disappointed, I'm sure, about missing the tournament. There is no question about that. So it cancels out. The factors cancel out. If you're betting motivation, it cancels out. Toledo's obviously very much disappointed. They lost their shot to be in the tournament, losing to the MAC championship game against Kent State. But you could say Michigan's equally disappointed, frustrated about the season they've had, falling short of the NCAA tournament for a team that's not used to being out of the NCAA tournament in recent years. So I like Toledo here plus the points. With that offensive firepower that they have, the guards that can score, they've got the inside scoring. I don't know what you're going to get from Michigan. I don't know what you're going to get from from the Chrysler Center in terms of who's really amped up to be going there for this game tonight there on campus. I'm not so sure, and I just think when you look at it, this is the role I like Toledo in when they're getting a boatload of points. I like them here getting I got 7.5 with them. It's down to 6.5, but I still like it at the current number. I can only look over, but boy, oh boy, I mean that total's getting up there at 163. I do think it's very high scoring, but that is a very high total. What do you think, Connor?
It is. And Michigan just was absolutely the worst I'd seen them. That game they lost to Rutgers. That last 10 minutes of that game, really the whole second half.
Yep.
I mean, I think they had like a couple field goals in the second. Like it was really bad. They lost 62-50. One thing with Toledo, and that's what we saw with Kent State, some people thought they were turning it over, is the defense is still very bad. You're right. They can score. And I think they score here. I think you could still get over that number, 160. I think this could be in the high 80s, 90s here, especially Michigan should be. And Toledo still numbers in every category is ugly in the 300s. If you got the 7.5, this goes to 6. And just about a half hour ago, it's all moved now back to 6.5. So now a little more buyback here with Michigan to move it up. I thought it was a little bit too many just because Toledo can shoot it real well. So tough for me. I lean them and the over. I think there's some points here.
All right. Last NIT tournament game tonight. Southern Miss UAB. UAB Blazers, 9-point favorites, 155, 156 the total in this game. This is one of those games where I think UAB wins, but I don't think they cover. I think Southern Miss plus the points is the side here. I took the points I took it at 9.5 with Southern Miss. I still like it now. It's a very good Southern Miss team. Let's keep in mind they were one of the top, I would say, 2 or 3 teams all season in the Sun Belt from start to finish. It's a very good basketball team that had a very good season. I think UAB, if they win tonight, they're dangerous the rest of the tournament. But I think there's going to be a grind for them. This might even be one where I split it up with the first half full game on Southern Miss, because I could see I could see UAB being their heads are out of it early, but they're just so talented offensively, led by Jelly Walker, that they hang around even when they don't play well in the first half. And then maybe they wake up in the second half and they get things going a little bit after that. But I'd be careful about laying a big number like this with them here. It might take them a game. If they win tonight, they might become a bet-on team after in this NIT tournament, but I think they're at risk at least of failing to win by the kind of margin that's required here in this game as a 9-point favorite. So I like Southern Miss a little bit, plus the 9.5 is what I got. The over 2, this is probably one of my favorite overs. Southern Miss is going to push pace. UAB is going to play fast. Both teams are going to want to run and gun, get in transition. So the total to me was automatic to look over the total here. At 155 in this game. What do you think here, Conor? Southern Miss, UAB?
Yeah, they haven't played in a while, and that was a bad loss by Southern Miss there at the end. I just can't get over why I like UAB a little bit. And what you mentioned, will they start out slow? I just thought they played so poor against FAU. They got to be chomping a little bit. Like, that was just a pathetic effort, I thought.
Stunning with a championship on the line and a tournament bid on the line, that they were that poor in that game. I could not believe what I was seeing.
Yeah, exactly. And we know they're kind of, the defense is all right, hit and miss. But if they're going well here, I lean them. I just didn't know if I want to go first half full game. Southern Miss, though, been pretty good all year, feisty, but that just might be too many. But I'd look UAB.
All right, lean UAB here for Conor in this one. Yeah, Southern Miss has been a good dog, bigger dog this year. We'll see if that trend continues tonight. Remember, it's been favorites in conference play. That's when Southern Miss was starting to really be a bad point spread team. We'll see what happens here with the that's an interesting game, though, Southern Miss and UAB. All right, let's turn our attention to the big stuff, the main event. The NCAA tournament tips off tonight with the first 4 in Dayton, Ohio, UD Arena. And we will begin with Texas A&M Corpus Christi taking on Southeast Missouri State. We've seen Texas A&M Corpus Christi open 4.5-point favorites. It's actually down to 3.5 now. So some money's come in on SEMO. 158, 159 the total in this game. Southeast Missouri State is all offense and not much defense. So that's the concern all season long I've had with this team. They're just not a very good defensive basketball team. They're out of the OVC, where there's a lot of teams that didn't play great defense this year. They can flat out score, though, Southeast Missouri State. The Red Hawks, they haven't been in the tournament in 23 years. So it's going to be interesting to see. Philip Russell is just a terrific scorer for them. Chris Harris is very good as well. They both average double figures in scoring. This A&M Corpus Christi team, 12 of their last 3 games they've won. They got the Southland Tournament Championship. They had a share, I believe, and they had actually the regular season outright championship as well. They're a senior-laden team, which is what you like to see at this time of year. Jalen Jackson, Travion Tennyson, they're both outstanding, and it's going to be interesting to see how they fare. They did lose one of their better players, Murdoch, to injury, and he's not obviously going to play here. So that's a bit of a blow to Corpus Christi, but they're certainly familiar with the first 4, Conor, because they were here last year. They played in the first 4 against Texas Southern. They had a lead with 6 minutes to go, and they couldn't hold it down the stretch, and they ended up losing in that game. So I think that's actually a benefit here to Corpus Christi. I thought the line 4.5 was a little high, but they're betting SEMO here, and I think they say it's a neutral court, take the points with these 2 mid-major teams. I think there's a lot of that thinking. But, to me, I look at this spot here for Corpus Christi, and I think it's a situation now where they've been on this floor before. I think they get I haven't bet it yet. I'm probably not going to bet it because the line's and the money line's just not going to come into my range, but I ain't looking at SEMO here. Not with that lack of defense. Corpus Christi, do you think Corpus Christi wants to lose in the first 4 2 years ago? I think not. 2 years in a row, I should say. I think not. So I kind of lean Corpus Christi here, but unfortunately it's not going to probably move enough to get it to where I want to bet it. If I could bet a minus 130 on the money line or something like that, I'd get involved, but I'm not going to at the current number. I do like the over in this game, though, significantly, but everybody else does, because these 2 teams are going to whip. This is going to be a fun game because they're both going to fly up and down the court. It's going to be a fun game to watch in terms of pace. They both play fast, but everybody's on to this. My goodness, this total was 153.5 when it opened. It's all the way up now to 158.5. I'm even seeing a 159 at Caesars right now. So there's a lot of people that are on this over. It's not just me, but I do like it. That is the bet for me, was the over, but unfortunately it's moved quite a bit. What do you think here, Connor? The first 4 matchup, SEMO and Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Yeah, if you got in early, great, because I mean, it still could get over this. I think this is back and forth and points. The last couple of years, you think in different matchups, but some of these games gone over the last couple of these play-ins, with these teams. It still could get there. You mentioned Murdick's, the injury for him is pretty big. They still have great scores. There's scores on both sides, and both teams are good defensively. I think Corpus Christi's a little bit better. They shoot free throws better, 79%. Maybe that's key. But I think SEMO is just hot coming in here, winning it, all those games, kind of crazy fashion to get in here. I thought 4.5 was it. And a lot of love. I see Corpus Christi, money, but this line's dropping. And just in the last few minutes, there was threes I saw at a few books like Bookmaker, those, and now I see in threes everywhere. So yeah, at that 4.5, I really like SEMO in this one.
All right, and the other first 4 matchup tonight, it is Mississippi State and Pittsburgh. Mississippi State 2.5-point favorites, 132.5 the total in this game. Now, come on, I mean, how do I not take Pitt, right? And how do I not? They've been great to me this year. I am not laying points with a bad offensive basketball team, okay? And that's Mississippi State. They can't shoot straight. They are a horrendous offensive team in a lot of these games, especially down the stretch. They didn't play great. I find they've got DJ Jeffries, who can score the basketball, the senior. And outside of that, there's not a whole lot of supporting cast that steps up consistently. And it's a shame, because I like their coach a lot. I thought it was a nice hire, Chris Jans. I'm a Chris Jans fan from his time at New Mexico State. But this is not an offense where I'm comfortable on a neutral court laying points with them. Simple as that. Now, there is some injury concerns here on the Pitt side. I think Federico is the big one, because they work a lot of post-oriented offense, Mississippi State, and he's got the hamstring injury or the knee injury that he's been bothered with. He's questionable. I think if he's in there, that really makes Pitt a strong bet here at +2.5. Even without him, if he doesn't play, I've still got to go with Pitt. I think their offense can work a little bit here against Mississippi State as well. You look at the Bulldogs. The one thing that does concern me about this defensive matchup for them is that they have had definitely a little bit more issues against the three-point shot. And that's where Pitt can really burn you. Pitt's shooting a very effective. It's 36% from three-point range, 79th in the country. And if you look at the three-point defense for the Bulldogs, it was worse down the stretch than it was early in the year. So obviously, Pitt, they've got the scores. Capel's done an outstanding coaching job. Pittsburgh, in particular, as an underdog all season long, has been very strong. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I know for a fact, as an underdog, they've been very good all season. And I think that's got a good chance to continue here in this game. And let me just bring up the stats here, because we're going to find out right now just how good they've been here as a dog. Yeah, underdog this year for Pitt. I'm just tabulating it up right now. 1, 3, 5, 9, 10, 1, 3, 4. I've got them at 10-4 ATS as a dog this year, Pittsburgh. 10-4 against the spread, catching points this year, which doesn't surprise me, because how many times earlier in the season, whether it was non-conference or ACC play, was I on Pittsburgh when they were catching points? And we're right back to it tonight. Give me Pitt Panthers, +2.5 here in this one. Connor, what do you think? Mississippi State, Pitt.
I agree with you. I got to take the 2.5 here. Mississippi State, you mentioned it, is the better defense. But for me, now them laying points here, about 3, I can't do it. And they could grind out this win. The free throws, one of the worst teams, and I've seen it 64%. I don't want to lay points with them. I think if you like Mississippi State, you take the money line, and that's some juice to it.
You better factor that shit into your handicapping now that we're into the tournaments here. NIT, NCAA tournament, any tournament. Free throw shooting that's porous, that's going to come back and hurt you in some games.
Definitely. 27% from 3. Pitt's defense, I just think they got so bitch slapped by Duke, just the red hot Duke team. I think they got to be like, wow, I think they have a better game. And you mentioned Burton, Henson, Cummings. These guys have been here before with other teams. I think they can score a little bit, even though Mississippi State's defense is really good. So at 2.5, I got to take Pitt. I think they can win it outright. I thought this was more maybe, a pick 'em Pitt -1 type thing. So I got to take it too. I gotta ride with Pitt in this one.
Yeah. Man, if they lose, okay, so be it. But if they, we'll say thanks for the great season of winners from Pitt, because I've certainly won way more than I've lost betting this Pittsburgh team this year. But if they win, good on them, and we might even bet them in the next round if they're getting enough points, and depending on the matchup. Yep.
Yeah, and maybe the defense has been kind of bad lately. Gets a team like Mississippi State. They just need to be pretty
good. Good in a hurry when you play Mississippi State. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, this is
I
not
mentioned the shooting, and they're a pretty good free throw shooting team, 75%. I'll roll that route here today.
Well, there's a huge gap. You've got the 70. What is Pitt's ranking in free throw percentage? 42nd in the country. They're 347. Mississippi State. So you're talking about a 42nd and a 347th ranked free throw shooting teams here, with Pitt being the 42nd ranked. So that's a huge gap. That could show up in a point spread like this, where it's 2.5, competitively lined game for sure. All right, great stuff. That's the Tuesday card. 185 live viewers. Hit the like button. We appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow. And keep in mind, tomorrow we're going to do the two first four games. We're going to do the and tomorrow, by the way, it's Texas Southern, Fairleigh Dickinson, and then Arizona State, Nevada. We'll do those two games tomorrow in the first four. We'll do all the NIT tournament games. And because we're on not till Thursday at 5 p.m., which is the normal time, 5 p.m. Eastern, all the games that are the early afternoon games, noon Eastern, 3 p.m. Eastern games on Thursday in the NCAA tournament, we will talk about those games tomorrow on the Net Profit Show at 5 p.m. Eastern. So tomorrow's going to be a great show. First four, NIT for tomorrow, and we'll do the early games in the afternoon on Thursday from the NCAA tournament from the first round. So we'll cover all of that tomorrow on the Wednesday edition of the Net Profit Show. So make sure you join us for that. All right. Yeah, Isaiah, we're on board with you, my friend. Pitt is what we're hoping for. We're there as well.
Yeah.
Pitt, go Pitt tonight. All right, good stuff. We'll be right back to wrap things up with best bets right after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. Southtown 101, when you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke. Southtown 101 and manscaped.com. Promo code PubSports. Get 20% off your purchase, Lawnmower 4.0 or any Manscaped product. Get 20% off with promo code PubSports. And there we go. For some reason, we got knocked off our background. There we go. We got the Net Profit background back on the screen again. I don't know how that happened, but regardless. All right. So again, tomorrow, first four Wednesday games, NIT games, and the Thursday afternoon NCAA tournament games. Thursday's show, and it'll be Conor and I again on Thursday. Then we'll do Thursday night NCAA tournament, and then we'll do Friday afternoon NCAA tournament games on the Thursday show. So that's the way we'll go about it here moving forward for the next couple of shows. Then, of course, Conor and Dabby Cap will have you covered on Friday.
Right,
at 5 p.m. Eastern. All right, it's time for best bets here for this Tuesday slate. We got NIT, first four, NCAA tournament to choose from. Conor Mack, where are you going here for best bet?
We just talked about it. There's a couple unders. I think there's some good games in NIT, but give me Pitt. I just got to take it. Give me the +2.5. I think they can win outright, but I got to take them.
All right, there you go. Conor Mack with a couple unders, but more so Pitt +2.5. And look, that was the best bet I had picked out too, so I'm going to stick right with it as well. Pittsburgh Panthers +2.5 against Mississippi State. I like it. But actually, I'll give you a bonus one because there is one in the NIT that I like quite a bit here tonight in this game. I'm going to go with that Liberty side in that one, even though it's moved a little bit, but I really, really think it's advantageous. But I recommend the money line right now, because that's what I got on it, minus 130. If it's too rich for your blood, lay off. But this was definitely going to be best bet coming into the show, early this morning. And then there was this huge move. But man, I still really like this side. I don't know if Villanova is all that enthused. So Liberty minus one. If it's not too rich for your blood, minus 175, minus 180, I would say lay it with Liberty in that game. If not, then just stick with Mississippi State. But I'll give you two: Liberty money line and Pittsburgh plus 2.5 against Mississippi State. There you go for best bet. Vandy's pretty damn good too, but
I think it's pretty good.
That's good. Yeah. Vandy's a pretty good bet too. Not best bet, but it's right up there. All right, good stuff. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. Appreciate it very much. And again, remember the bracket challenge. Make sure you sign up for that at Pub Sports Radio. And we will be back tomorrow for Conor, Mac. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.
Palooza 2 on the horizon. We're going to have live shows popping off in the South Town 101. We're going to have a poker tournament, a par 3 golf tournament, UFC San Antonio on the Saturday night. A lot of excitement. Palooza 2, baby.